Have you ever wondered what it would be like to drive a car with only one pedal? Well, believe it or not, the Mustang Mach-E gives you that exact option. My name is Evo, and you're watching God Next. Now, EVs tend to be very alien in nature, I guess you could say, because they have a lot of weird features and quirks that not a lot of other gas-powered vehicles have. And thus, the one-pedal drive is something that not just the Mach-E has, Teslas also share this feature. But to demonstrate how this works in today's video, we have Aiden here, who is going to be joining us. And as well as me, we're going to figure out how this works because I have never, ever used this feature in any of these EVs. So we're going to see if I can just hop in and actually realize how to use it, because he's actually done it. He's going to provide some tips.
What's an EV?
Now we're sitting in the Mach-E, and the way you turn on one pedal drive, obviously we have the newer Mach-E screen that they just updated it to for the 23 model year. You go ahead and you push this up here, you push that button, and it'll open up the menu for the different things for the Mach-E. And you'll see here that in controls, you have one pedal drive. So you turn it on. Obviously we're also going to turn on propulsion drive because we want to hear that. But that's it. It's basic as that. One button, it basically allows you to drive the car with one pedal, as we're about to demonstrate now. So the way it's pretty self-explanatory, you literally just use the gas pedal. So as we're about to see, you just give it some throttle and it just starts driving.
Oh my God, you're showing them how to drive a car.
I know. But at first, I'm not gonna lie, it is a little weird because obviously you have muscle instincts to reach for the brake when you're, like, let's say there's a stoplight here and it's just starting to go red. You're obviously gonna instinctively reach for the brake. But in this case, if I just release the throttle, it's gonna come to a full stop. And it's weird at first. You kind of have to get used to it. Obviously, we're in a fully open road here, so there's no traffic. It is a little bit more nerve-wracking when you're in traffic because you're like, I don't want to hit a car. But after a while, it just becomes like second nature. It just depends on if you actually want to use it. It is a gimmick for sure, but it's a really weird and kind of cool gimmick when it comes to EVs.
Take your foot off the pedal. He's cheating. His foot's on the brake.
Incorrect. But yeah, so, and of course, it just depends on how quickly you want to be about it, obviously, because now we're going up to 40 miles an hour. I let go of the pedal, and the car will instinctively slow.
Here's the thing, though. It's like if you're in traffic on the highway and someone slams on their brake in front of you.
I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, that is a concern, of course. Let's say you're driving. This doesn't deactivate the brake pedal at all. It just basically uses the regenerative braking of the Mach-E to slow the car down. So let's say we're cruising at 20 miles an hour and somebody right in front of us just hits their brakes. Obviously, you can still use the brake pedal to...
Jesus Christ.
It'll stop. It'll be a little bit more aggressive because obviously it's using the regenerative braking, but it does work. Now, is it a gimmick? 100% it's a gimmick. Do I know how to use it 100%? No, because it's a gimmick, and I don't really like to drive the car with it because I instinctively go to use the brake pedal.
The thing about one pedal drive is if you guys ever heard of a feature called auto hold on these cars, if you use one pedal drive, it has this auto hold feature built into it. If I come to a complete stop not using the brake, you don't have to hold the brake to keep the car in its same spot. It automatically locks the wheels for you. That way it won't move. But the second you put your feet on the accelerator, it goes. Man, this thing really is not that fast. But my whole concern would be, it's like if I was doing 60, usually people in traffic on a highway will slam on their brakes hard if there's something in front of them. But in this case, you'd have to use your actual brake to slow down to the right speed, just because this thing is not going to be intelligent enough, at least not yet, to be able to determine whether it should use harder regenerative braking or it should just cruise down to a stop like it usually does. Honestly, the thing is with these Mach-Es is if you have it in unbridled mode, which is this car's sport mode, the one pedal drive feature feels nearly the same. The only difference is this will actually bring it to a complete stop versus unbridled's little like feature where it, brakes the car for you to kind of simulate that engine braking. It doesn't bring the car to a stop. This is a little more aggressive, but it's kind of like the same thing where it brings the car to a stop without using the brake. So, but you're always going to have that brake there to assist you just in case you need it. I personally wouldn't use this feature. It just, like Evo said, it's a gimmick. And I feel like what it does is it's going to train your brain not to use the brake in traffic. And when you forget to use your brake because you think one pedal drive is going to stop your car and you rear end someone because of that, you know, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Speaking on that part, what do you think? Let's say, for example, something happens and you're using that feature and the feature glitches out and you end up rear-ending someone. How would you think their insurance company would kind of react to that? I mean, it is technically your fault, right? Because
Yeah.
you're driving.
But then again, I'd lawyer up. Because
What are you going to sue the Mach-E?
I'm going to sue Ford.
I mean, I guess that is problem. Now,
If my one pedal drive stops working, that's Ford's fault, not
when
mine.
you're cruising right now and you try to use the brake itself, don't you think it's a little bit more aggressive than it would be regular driving?
It feels like the brake kind of assists the one pedal drive at stopping. Like if I go and then it's stopping by itself and I use the brake, it actually doesn't feel like there's much more stopping power until I'm about 25 to 30% into the brake. It feels just normal. So if, like, for example, 25 miles an hour, one pedal drive, and now it stops using the brake.
Right.
It feels like 30% of the way into the brake, nothing is there, and then all of a sudden the car has more stopping power. Because I think the one pedal drive not only, it simulates, I would say, a 30% brake pressure. And then from there, if you're putting 30% into the brake, it's not going to stop any differently. Versus now you're past that point, now it feels like it's stopping a little faster. So, but the brake is always going to be there to help you. I would think it would be silly if Ford didn't completely decouple your brake lines from the axle, because that would be pretty stupid of them and would open them up to tons of lawsuits. What do you think?
I think you're right about when it comes to a lot of it. It's definitely a gimmick. It's not something I think most people are going to use. I think for the people that are so hardcore about buying an EV and being about all this tech savvy, new technology that's in these cars, they would probably use it just to say that they use it. But I think for any regular consumer that ends up buying an EV like a Mach-E or even a Tesla, I don't think it's going to be something that's really going to be widely used. I think it's literally just a quirk of I guess just EVs, just so people can say my car does this and your car doesn't.
Well, the one thing I would say with it being a quirk, it is a quirk, but it also saves on battery life because it uses the reverse thrust of the electric motors to recharge the battery.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that yes, it's a gimmick, but in some capacity it does help with cost savings when driving these, just because you do end up saving electricity instead. But then again, I'm not a huge EV fan. I don't ever want to drive these. So in my mind, it's kind of like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. And you're probably saving cents on the dollar if you're using this mode rather than just, typically just standard using the brake. And not to mention, using the brake in an EV anyways, in most cases, saves electricity as well. You don't have to use one pedal drive.
Now, I think another thing we need to bring up with this is, if you're a person who gets probably, let's say, car sick easily, this feature will kind of mess with you, because when you let go of the gas pedal, it doesn't feel natural like when you're braking.
Yeah.
It does feel like it's more aggressive, and it definitely gives you that inertia hit of, oh, somebody's kind of braking a little bit harder. So if you're more prone to car sickness, like let's say if prone to car sickness of braking or being in turns, this is probably not a feature you want to use, because it's definitely going to mess with your head.
Yeah, it's weird at first, taking your foot off and the car just coming to a stop. It does feel as if like there is like, and I'm not a person who gets car sick, so, but I don't know, it makes my stomach kind of turn, because when I am in traffic and I stop, I don't press the brake this hard to do that. I stop way farther back and slow down using a lot less braking force.
Definitely.
So this is a little weird to me. Like, there's a super snake on this side of the road. I'm about probably 200 feet from it, and we're going to stop now. And I was going 40, and it comes to a stop way before.
Right.
But if we're going to be really dangerous, come on.
It's not going to
It's
stop.
not going to stop.
You're going to have to use the brake pedal. So that is another thing. I have read online a little bit about this stuff because I was interested in the concept. And from what a lot of these companies are claiming is that this feature directly works with, I guess, in conjunction with the car's self-driving for the Mach-E. It's called Ford's Blue Cruise. It uses the radar and the cameras to apparently decide how much braking is needed. But as Aiden just demonstrated, if he hadn't pushed the brake, we would have gone straight into that $150,000 Mustang. So, yeah, it's probably not the best feature out there.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't trust the car to stop for you, and
absolutely not.
you're just training yourself to not use the brake when, for the last, I don't know, 120 years, it's just been the standard thing to do. So that's why it just seems so useless to me. The only thing I could say is we've now driven like 5 miles and not lost a single percentage of range.
Yeah.
We've stayed at the same range the entire time, but is the 5 cents it really takes to get those 5 miles worth risking, hurting another person or, running into another
Even
car?
yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
you're essentially a hazard on the road.
Right. So, thanks, Ford. You've now created a generation of people who will not know how to use a brake.
Great. Thank you.